Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to Coruscant Radio Underground on the Science Fictionary. And I'm Andrew. I'm here with Marisha and a very special guest tonight to talk about The Mandalorian. We have Nicole.
Yes, thank you guys for letting me crash and talk about The
Absolutely.
Mandalorian. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you reached out, because I always tell everybody, if we're talking about something you want in on, just shoot me a message and we'll get you in. And so I'm glad you did it.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry,
All
I have
right.
a cat normally at my feet, which is happening, of course, now. So, yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah, I tried recording last week with Thor, my dog, running in and out of the room. And after like the fifth time he came barreling through the room, I was like, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
Gotta take a break.
All right.
You know what? Hold up.
Yeah.
You guys can't even see my shirt.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
That's so cute. I
Like,
love it.
hold up. This is the one thing, okay? Ro's not here, so I can say, oh, wait, he is here. If I was
Just say it anyway.
you could see how cool my Grogu shirt is.
It's true.
The Ro likes.
Now it's rectangle. And yes, I see you, bro.
That's great. Bro.
Oh, I can't wait because I get to see him next weekend in person. I'm so excited.
Oh, nice. Where are you going to see Ro at?
C2E2, Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's one that we will eventually make it to.
Yes.
Okay, I'm there. Let's go. That means that I have to make it down there to your guys's though, to Dragon Con.
Yeah.
Yes. You should.
Yeah, everybody needs to make it to Dragon Con. But yeah, it's like there's a couple of big ones in Florida I really would like to make it to, and C2E2 is one that I'd really like to make it to, and then maybe like Salt Lake, the big one out there. But
Mormon Con?
Yeah, Mormon Con.
Well, I have to admit, Marisha and I have talked about C2E2 a little bit about some cosplays. So she has an idea of things I might be dressing up.
Yeah.
And I'm in final stages. I'm trying just to put things together. So more to come on all that.
And always more expensive than you think it's going to be.
Yes. I'm trying to do less is more and using everything that I have.
Yeah. I periodically am like, I'm like, hey, look, I made this whole group with stuff that I had, but I've also been buying stuff.
How many costumes did you take to Dragon Con last
25.
year?
Wow. But this is also part of your living though. So, right? I mean, it's what you do.
I mean, not cosplay. I mean, I do costumes.
Well, I mean, costumes.
But it's a really different kind of costume. So unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of, and there's like skills overlap, but there's not a whole, 25. Not a whole lot of, like I've never used my, my Zelda costumes in a movie.
I'd like to make a special note. I can remember Ro once upon a time saying, nobody here ever cosplays. I'm like, yeah, we do. You just haven't seen it yet.
Seen it, exactly.
Here we go. 25.
Yeah, I had 5 kids, and we were there for 5 days, and they all needed something different every day.
Yep.
We'll see.
When we went to Celebration Orlando, there were a lot of cosplays. We drove to Orlando, and I couldn't see out the back of the car. For a 13-hour drive. So
it was fun stuff.
Yep.
That does sound like fun.
And one day we will get to go to Celebration again. Maybe they'll eventually bring it back to Orlando, or maybe they will fulfill my wish and bring it to New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, if that happens, I'm there. I'll just figure it out.
And see, the thing is, I think that a lot of people would be there. A lot of people just like New Orleans. New Orleans is great.
And food. And I've always wanted to go to New Orleans for history and food.
But mostly food.
I 100%.
If you ever decide to do it, I'm close enough to drive down. I'll drive down, spend the day with you, and we'll walk around and eat.
Yes. I wish I was that close to. I wish that was a day visit though to New Orleans, but that's a long drive. Yeah. So maybe I'm coming more than a day.
Y'all should make the trip down for New Orleans Comic Con.
Yes, in January. Fun stuff.
Want like here bait. Trust me, I keep thinking. I'm like, I need to get to Mississippi.
There's things to be done.
I know, including a certain Muppets museum.
It's true.
Yep.
Poor Andrew has to hear me talk about Muppets almost every time he now sees me.
That's fine. It keeps me working. I've got everything together. I just have not been able to get to a point. Seems like every time I'm like, okay, we're doing Muppets this month, something happens. We've been doing Strap for 3 weeks. This is
Yeah.
third
No.
Strap, right?
All good. No, totally.
Just for fun.
It's like I'm good for a little bit, and then I'm just like I can't stay awake anymore.
Yeah.
Doctor
No,
Who is
you
like,
guys need to feel all better.
He says don't leave your house again until you're done with your antibiotics. That's 10 more days. Fun stuff.
Yes.
All right, but we are at the halfway point of season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Wow,
Yep.
how'd that happen?
It happens quick when there's only 8 episodes.
True.
That's very true.
So how are y'all feeling so far about the season?
Nicole?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling way better now than I did actually before the show began. I was very, cautiously optimistic, and now I'm like, we got through the first episode, and then now I'm good. I'm good, and hopefully it continues that way.
I'm really enjoying it. I think that there are, not necessarily people in our group who all watch all the things, but I think that it probably, for your more casual viewers who don't necessarily watch everything Star Wars, but who are watching The Mandalorian, I think that first episode probably threw them because they were like, wait a minute, hold the phone. Last episode was this big giant, like Luke Skywalker swoops in moment. And then we pick back up and it's like, I missed something.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, it's maybe more for your casual fans, I would think, causing some issues. But since I didn't miss anything, I knew all the intermediate pieces.
Right.
I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's hitting all the beats for me. There hasn't really been an episode that I've been like, ugh. Just like, but why? I feel like every episode has done some things to move the story forward, give us more information about things that I think are going to be relevant going forward, and things that I just would like to know about. I'm always interested in learning more about the Mandalorians. I enjoy Bo-Katan. I think that they've done a good job with Grogu this season, because I think it would be easy for them to just really rely on like cute, but I think that they've mostly sidestepped that temptation to just, it's like there have been no Frog Lady episodes this season
yet. Okay, because Misty Rosa was at the premiere. So I expect that she will show up at some point. I'm excited because I like Misty Rosa. She's like somebody, she may not be like this bigger than life celebrity, but it's like, that's the reason why I like her. So I'm like, I'm hoping we see at least, I have a feeling we're going to see some of the Frog Lady, and I hope it's done in a really good way.
Yeah. So I just feel like we have really, I feel like they've avoided some of the things that they've even fallen into in past episodes, where you would get most of an episode, and they're running from spiders. Or
well, there were times where Grogu was just kind of there to be cute, but he's more integrated into what's going on now.
Right.
So I feel like
we still get fun moments. We get him using the Force to spin the office chair and things like that. But I do feel like they're doing a good job. And like you were saying earlier, I'm glad that they've really kind of, I know some people are complaining about the way it looks when he moves around, but like, I'm really sort of thankful that they kind of like, the roots of Yoda is a Muppet. Yoda's a Muppet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad that they've kind of stayed with the movement. He moves like a Muppet. And eventually he's going to outgrow that. Eventually, one day we're going to have a grown version of this character that's not going to be like that. But for this version, I'm glad that they've done that.
When I watched the show the first time, I remember when we get this past episode, when we got to episode 4, and that sad moment. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, Jim Henson he's got to be looking down. He's got to be happy about this because the way that it worked, everything the puppeteering was just so wonderful. And I'm like watching his face and I want to cry and I'm going, oh my God, Jim Henson would be so proud. Like this
I would love to know what Frank Oz thinks of it.
Oh, very good question. Agreed. I agree. Man, if we heard that he loved it, I would just be over the moon happy.
But I guess the chief complaint that I've heard about this season from more casual fans is that it's not necessarily following the story that I think they thought it was following. I think they thought it was just the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, the baby. That's the story. And that this kind of delving into I think that we're in the middle of a transition to an ensemble piece.
Agreed. Yes. Okay. We are totally on the same wavelength. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
So I've said since early in season 1 that this was Dave Filoni has always wanted to tell the story of the restoring of Mandalore, and that's where this was headed.
Yes.
And so for me, I'm really, really happy that that's the direction we're going and that we're getting more lore. We're getting just things that to some people are going to feel throwaway, like Mandalorian proverbs and things like that. I love that lore building. So I'm really, really excited about what's happening with the direction. How are y'all feeling about that? Nicole obviously is excited about it.
Well, that's why I wanted to come and talk about it because I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know, this episode for some odd reason really made me really look back and kind of go, okay, I think this is really reconfirming things from the last couple of seasons that this is where, as you were talking about, where we're headed. In regards to taking over Mandalore and things, and even the story of Grogu. I'm going, people want him, some people want him gone, even if they're his favorites. I mean, they're favorites. But I don't think so. I think they're really setting this up for us to fall in step with Grogu as he grows, and we're growing with him, and he's growing into this character that soon everybody around this world, which most do already know who he is, including his proper name and his improper nicknames. But so if they ever bring him onto the big screen, people are just going to, they're going to cheer. They're going to be excited. This is Grogu, and he's this wonderful, wonderful character that we all have learned to love. And we now know his story. We know his history. We know his background. We know where he's come from. We just don't know his current future. Yeah. And I think that's where this story is also still heading with but still with the Mandalorian and still with Mandalore. So,
I think y'all are right. I think that this is the direction they've kind of been. And I think that for people who knew the buzzwords, to look for, I think that a lot of us have suspected that this was the direction, especially whenever Bo-Katan shows up. Like when the episode where Bo-Katan shows up, it's like, okay, well, this is clearly what we're doing now. And even when they started announcing other Mandalorians, there was a lot of talk that maybe Sabine Wren was going to be in in the last season. And so there was a lot of buzz around other Mandalorians showing up that we knew. And so I think that a lot of people, a lot of people maybe just didn't recognize kind of the buzzwords, or just that isn't the direction that they wanted it to go. But I think that especially the first season, I think was a little more of a, lone gunslinger kind of story.
For sure. They definitely went full spaghetti Western with season 1 to introduce the characters.
Galactic Western, Andrew. Yes. Galactic Western.
That's great. But that's the thing about especially TV shows that run for multiple seasons. That's finding that balance where it's new, but it's familiar. That's always a really precarious balance. And some shows do great with that, and so it's great.
That's what we can have for May the 4th now.
Yes, space spaghetti, perfect.
Thanks, Ro.
Yeah, we got it. We've established it. So I think it's going to be. I think so far they're managing to kind of grow the story, but I think it still feels like the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see. And it's like I said, it's always interesting any story that goes on for multiple seasons. Like the first season of Andor was very clearly a thing, but you can only stick with one shtick for so long before you kind of have to start broadening it out a little bit. So it'll be really interesting to see how they do with that. And I think that, especially since the last episode was largely about, somebody totally other on the other side of the galaxy, I think the fact that they reined this episode in, it was a very an exclusively Mandalorian episode. I think, even though I enjoyed the kind of all the Pershing kind of side story, I think that it would be a mistake to spend too much time there in this show, because you kind of we'd like them to stick, I think, with our main characters.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think that I think they're still doing a good job of telling Din Djarin's story. I think we're just scratching the surface of Grogu's story.
Yes,
but we've just added more people in, and the thing is, and I'm comfortable with that, because I feel like Filoni and Favreau are both pretty good at working with multiple characters at a time rather than just a single lead.
Yeah.
And so I'm comfortable with it, and I'm really enjoying this world they're building. The Mandalorian stuff has always been fascinating, but it's interesting to see how they're fleshing it out. And so this one, I mean, we jump right into this episode. We just kind of jump in here, and we open up with, we get the deepest look at the covert that we've had so far. This particular group of Mandalorians, we start off with them all training. I don't know what some of the training is. Some of the shooting out into the water is a little like.
Oh, I heard somebody had I can't remember who, but somebody had mentioned that those dart throwings actually could be what's keeping that, whatever's in the water right there away, keeping it at bay. And that could be part of it.
Yeah, maybe so. But I mean, we got a lot of look at the combat stuff. I thought, I'm enjoying Katie Sackhoff now taking a turn of doing the acting with the helmet on. And listening to her talk, she's really enjoying that too, because she said she'll do a shot and then she runs to the monitor because she wants to make sure she was reacting the way she felt like she was reacting, since it's a purely physical performance now. And I enjoy her, because most of these are this is just kind of a ragtag group of Mandalorians who follow the old ways. She's Mandalorian Special Forces. And her walking through and kind of watching the way they're training and watching what they're doing.
Damn good. I mean, she just exudes poise.
Yes.
It's like she just walks on, and it's just like,
whoa! It commands attention.
It absolutely does. Like every movement that she makes is just compelling. And I think it helps too that she started this character as a voice job.
Is that crazy? And it's awesome that she gets to do this now.
And so now it's like she's got the physical performance, but then there's also, like, you can tell she's got some voice acting experience, because she's really she's really doing a good job with her inflection and doing interesting things with her voice.
Yeah. But no, it's we talked about this, when she first showed up this season, is the transition from animated character to live action character is just almost seamless with her.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing, is like she looks like a dadgum animation, like very much like a lot of times, like just like glancing at her, she looks a lot like Rebels. Sabine from Rebels, like physically, like it's interesting because she's just got that, and most of the, we don't see as many women Mandalorians, but she's, definitely
her and Sabine, but we haven't seen
in this show.
Yeah,
we haven't seen a whole bunch of them.
Well, and we have the armor, but it's so interesting because when I first, like, I liked Bo-Katan in Rebels and Clone Wars. Like, I liked her, but I didn't like love her. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, she's the best. And now I'm like, oh my, this is different Bo-Katan. This is Bo-Katan with character development, because again, you're talking about her, that poise, that grace, but that leadership and commanding that attention. And I just love it. And to the point, like, even in again this past episode, when her and the armor were talking towards the end, I kind of started going, at the beginning of this in season 1, I thought the armor was more of a leader. She's still a leader, but she's different kind of leader. And it's almost like Bo-Katan could probably, it's like I can see her edging out already. Beginning to yes, they're listening to the armor, but they're not like, I don't know. There's something about it. There's
the armor. I've
trying to gain that strength.
She almost feels more like a priestess.
Yes, 100. That's what I was fixing to say. She's the religious leader.
Correct.
Yeah.
Agreed. Because again, it's just so interesting, because I just feel like this week really changed my confirmed my perspective on some things. And that, again, from Grogu to Bo-Katan to even armor, like, there's different levels of leadership happening here, and you can see it. And I always thought maybe, like, okay, could the armor become like evil, or could she do this, or could she that? And I'm like, no, you're right. Like more like a priestess, more spiritual and stuff, and in that type of leadership sense. And I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I still think we might end up with, we could still end up with a rift between these groups. I really thought before the season happened that was 100% where we were going, was a confrontation between these two groups of Mandalorians. But now I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not so sure that we're not building towards something that's going to cause these groups to have to unite. Yeah,
that would be awesome, because I think that's going to be important in regards to seeing who's going to truly take over as leadership. We all go, okay, Mando, because of that dark saber. But right now, again, Bo-Katan there's just something about her. And there's and my only other thought, though, was what if Sabine does come out of the woodwork and boom, but that's a whole different type of story. So I don't know. I don't know if Sabine, I mean, she's already done it once. She didn't want to get back to Bo-Katan, or would she come out of the woodwork to be there? You know what I mean? As that, I don't know, part of the, helping to take care of things.
I'm not sure exactly where they're going, but it's Bo-Katan definitely commands.
Ro has a very good point. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I think that's a good theory.
Yeah,
sorry.
I think we're 100% building towards a very. I think we will do some version of heir to the Empire story.
Yes, I've heard that before, and so I'm excited because I think that would be really cool to see.
Yeah,
but with
Mandalorians. So, I'm fairly convinced that that's where we're going. There's been rumors for a while of sort of this wrapping this up at some point with either a Disney Plus film, which they said they would never make, or an actual for the theater movie. And I think that we probably are headed in that direction one way or the other with these characters. And I guess it could just be a series where we see some overlap, but
you have like a 2-hour finale.
Yeah, or possibly even like a whole season of kind of like the Defenders. on Netflix where we
But
kind of
yeah.
overlap the stories. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that ultimately Thrawn is the big bad. I think we got hints to that last week. I
Mhm.
think if Gideon is still out there, that
Yes.
he's really subservient to Thrawn at this point.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something I definitely want to see.
Yeah. Again, that's part of the case. So I totally expect Moff Gideon. I totally expect Frog Lady, and the main reasons again they walked that premiere red carpet and they were in all the photos. So I'm just like, okay, that gave me at least a little bit more of an idea that guess what, this is they're going to be there at some point, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, we'll see how that works out.
Well,
So
especially since there seemed to be a lot of questions around what actually happened with Gideon.
right.
Yeah. So I do think that so that's the thing. We were left with a question of what happened to Gideon. Is he even alive, or was he sent to the mind flayer, or what?
Mhm.
And I've seen a lot of people are determined that he's alive because he's going to show up in this season, but I'm not totally sure that we're not going to see at some point how he got the dark saber from Bo-Katan, which means that what
I
he
like
could show up in is a flashback.
Oh, good point. I hadn't thought about that. Very good point.
So
It's a
yeah, I'm
possibility.
still not totally sure where they're headed with that character
Mhm.
because I think that Thrawn is the obvious big bad we're working towards.
Mhm.
Um, so kind of coming back to the training scene, what did y'all think about that opening scene with just kind of seeing all the Mandalorians, and then we get Din Djarin has decided that it's time for Grogu to start participating in the training. Um, What did y'all think about Grogu's duel with Ragnar?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That was awesome.
Especially, with, again, I loved the kind of throwback feeling I get. It's like whenever everyone was so excited and Revenge of the Sith because we were going to see Yoda fight.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, he's going to be CGI, he can fight, and it was a little weird. Not gonna lie, still a little weird all these years later, but it was, like, I mean, he's a famous, right, swordmaster, so it tracked. So it
Mhm.
was fun to kind of see him jump around and do the little
Mhm.
fun Yoda moves.
Yeah. And I do like at the beginning how, again, we got to see Bo-Katan in as she moved around. Because again, she moves around differently than Armor and Din Djarin. And then when he went to go pick up Grogu, originally I was like, no, do you not understand that he might be also training in his own way, his own Jedi way, right? And of course, then they moved, and I was like, okay. But at the same time, maybe Grogu thought he was training. I really don't. We can confirm he's really good with animals because as you saw, like they were there and then they left. So it's but then that moment happened where he's like, no, and I want you train you over here.
Yeah.
So I think at the same time, I think Din Djarin needs to realize that Grogu also is still probably learning things through the Jedi. And at the same time, still learning stuff through as a Mandalorian. He's both, I think. I really believe he is both at this point. He's the heart of both.
Well, and that's the thing. The is it Tar Vizsla was the 1st Jedi Mandalorian. The indications that we're getting now is that he was more than just the first Jedi Mandalorian. He was a bridge between two peoples.
Right. And I think this could be a bridge. This could be the next bridge.
Well, and I think that's what I think Filoni has been very, very pointed about drawing parallels between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. And we even get Bo-Katan talking about how the Jedi and the Mandalorians once fought side by side. And I really don't think she's referencing the little bit of time that she was around Obi-Wan or Anakin or any of those people. I think that she's talking about the Mandalorian people at one point before the war between the Jedi and the Mandalorians worked more closely together.
I will say this is when I feel Bo-Katan is very tight-lipped because it's interesting that she's not gone into that conversation about all the Jedi she is known with, like there's so much more information that she has that Din has no clue, or at least we think he doesn't have a clue. So
Right. And one of the things, I think the big takeaway from the scene is that Bo-Katan has also warmed up to Grogu a lot.
yes.
Almost to a point of being a little bit motherly with Grogu. The scene where she's telling him, that he's just excited. He's just proud of you. My dad was the same way. I appreciate those moments. Those are just nice little moments of character growth, because we've never seen Bo-Katan be that way.
Well, and it's also good to see her mention her family, because we know that there was Duchess Satine. We know as the viewer who knows Star Wars that there's a huge family history there. And so there's so much more. And for a new viewer, they could be like, oh, that's cool. And we're like, wait a minute. Like, you're mentioning family. Maybe that's the open door that we could be learning more about that soon.
Yeah.
Dang it. I just can't put that logo anywhere where it doesn't cover stuff up. Yeah, I agree, Ro. I just, right now, the prospect of movies is just scary right now because they keep getting canceled. So, and I would assume, since Bob Iger was the one that said they would never do a Star Wars movie on Disney Plus. I would assume, since he's the one back in charge, that for now that's gonna stay true. I wasn't so sure with the other Bob, with Bob Chapek, that
What about Bob?
That's the question. We saw how that went.
Yeah,
should have been warned.
Yeah.
So I was just reading those quotes. What did y'all think about the creature? We got these new creatures. We just referred to it as the Raptor. We didn't get a name for the creature yet. I know some people think that they're Shriek Hawks, which is the
dragon.
It's more like a dragon. A lot of people think it's a Shriek Hawk, which is the symbol that Clan Vizsla wears on their armor. But I think that it's probably not, because those were, first of all, native to Mandalore. So I think we're probably dealing with something different. I thought the creatures looked absolutely incredible. I think that this show, every time we've done a big creature like that, they've looked incredible.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was one of the cooler looking dragons I've seen lately.
Right.
It's definitely a dragon.
And of course we had what's his name? Carl Weathers, that directed this episode. And so of course we got good action stuff. We also got callbacks to other action movies. That shot of the Raptor flying into the distance with Bo-Katan in the gauntlet flying behind it into the sunset is right out. I mean, have you seen Apocalypse Now? It's the helicopters flying into the sunset shot. So I know that we're going to, obviously we get a huge Jurassic Park nod at the end of this episode. And
it's like, wait a minute, we just watched that movie last week.
You're like, this seems awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed, Ro. It was visually stunning. It was great to have a creature and have it have purpose and serve a purpose.
Yeah. It's I told the kid that said there's always a bigger fish, and that is another fun callback, for episode 1 when we've got all the fish eating, but so I love that. Space Peter would not be happy at all.
Don't start.
No dinosaurs were harmed in the making of this movie yet.
All right, so let's talk about this flashback scene. First of all, we've got Grogu going in to talk. Din Djarin and Bo-Katan leave on this mission to go rescue this foundling. The Mandalorian, or the armorer, who I didn't really expect to, says, turns to Grogu and says, "Come with me. There's things that you need to learn." I was like, that's a really cool moment, because everyone is embracing him now as part of this group. And I think that I thought that was really interesting. So we kind of get a call back to when Din goes to see the armor back in season 1,
Mhm.
where he walks in. We get a flashback in relation to the Forge, but when Din walks in, we've always focused in very tightly on the Forge every time we've
Mhm.
seen it.
Right.
And when they come in this time, it's always been from Din's perspective, but when we come in this time, the camera's low to the floor. We've got Grogu's perspective looking up at the Forge now.
Oh, I know. I loved that. I loved how they were using the camera angles.
Mhm.
Like which we'll be talking about another moment soon, but that I love that they brought it down.
Yeah. All right. So we finally get the answer to the question of how did Grogu get out of the Jedi Temple? The
Jar Jar
flashback,
Binks, obviously.
the Jar Jar Binks. It might have been Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
So what did y'all think about the flashback scene?
You made me so happy. Like, it's one of those things, just on an emotional level, as a Star Wars fan, Ahmed Best, like, deserved to get a really cool Star Wars moment. After all the stuff that he's been through as a Star Wars actor over the years.
Yeah.
You know.
No, the media dragged him through the mud during the prequels.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was bad. Yeah, I agree, Ro. I cannot believe that did not get leaked. Like,
yeah,
how on earth, I don't know. They must really not play around over there, because everything gets leaked.
Yeah. They've managed to hold on to some pretty big things
That's
each
what I'm saying. For
season.
this show, they've managed to hold on to some really remarkable surprises.
Yeah. Favreau must threaten people the way Lucas used to.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised because it's not what I expected, nor did I expect it's what I was going to need. However, it has left me going, okay, but then how does this tie in here?
Yeah, so there's always been a question. I mean, I even questioned back early on when we knew that he was taken from the Jedi Temple, whether it was even a good guy that took him, because
Right.
we know things are not going to necessarily go well between that moment and the moment that Din Djarin finds him. So
Right.
there's still a lot of that story there to be told.
Right. Well, and I think I'm hoping, what I'm hoping is that we will get my answer within a few stories. You know, because again, I expected it would be this lady. I expected it was going to be Jocasta Nu.
That was a good pick.
Because we do know that she started up a school afterwards. We know that she helped with the younglings in the long run of things. So I was like, wait. But then I was like, wait, like it was just, that's how it was. It was a pleasant surprise. And then, but then it was afterwards when I went, okay, but how does this work? Like, are they going to meet up? Are we going to finally get a live action Jocasta Nu? Are we not going? Are they just not going to talk about that?
Yeah,
you know, because we know she lived afterwards,
right.
and I'm kind of like, they had to have known each other. I mean, both Jedi, both right there, both happened during Order 66. She is in Clone Wars, so I assume she is still canon. So
yeah, I think it's going to be. There were lots of names thrown out there for. Oh, maybe it was this person. Maybe it's who was it? But Keller and Beck was definitely not a name that I heard anybody float.
I did see there was someone, I can't recall who it was.
Oh yeah, somebody
on Twitter. There was somebody that like a year ago called
it out.
Keller and Beck, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I can't remember who that was. But I definitely saw that on Twitter.
Me too.
Somebody could be like,
she was the only one who got it on her bingo card.
Right.
Somebody was vindicated.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. And when they said, when they're trying to get him into the elevator, they do say, you get the child to get the youngling to Kelleran. And I was like, why do I know that name? And it did not register until he opened the door, and it was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
See that moment when those doors open again, that beautiful shot, that angle, just like with Grogu, it was good to see down from his perspective. It was good to have the open to us, and it was to us. It was to the viewers. And that was wonderful. That was smart of them, because it's not like they just panned in on him. The doors open and we saw him, and it was just here you go.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I love the scene. The only thing I didn't love about it, I wish they would have just stuck with the one lightsaber, only because I felt like the choreography, like two-handing any weapon is, I mean, I've played a lot of sports. Like, most people can't turn around and bat the other way or throw a ball the other way. Most people just can't. And I thought that the choreography would have been easier to make look really good if they had stuck with the one. I thought that the choreography was a little clumsy.
Right. It needed to be a little bit tighter, a little bit more choreographed, more.
But the upside was it did look like it looked like they let him do it.
Right.
I didn't see where it looked like they switched away to a stunt double. It looks like he got to do it himself, which is fun. So we get the chase through Coruscant. We get another look at Coruscant. We get to go through Memorial Plaza again.
Like, we built this. How many times?
Well, I mean, but I mean, like any good TV show is going to do that. I mean, look at Stargate. How many times they reuse sets? It's like, you built it. You might as well use this.
Saw that set literally.
Right. But it's a really important place. So seeing that again is not like.
No, it works. It was just funny that it was like literally the same week they were like, oh, look, and here we are, in case you forgot about this place, here we are still on. In fact, that was the moment where the kids said, wait, are we on Coruscant?
No. It's like, didn't you see the Jedi Temple burning?
Like,
okay, oh my gosh, that is one thing I have to say, though. I have to agree with what you just said. I did think about that the other day. It looks like it's a really busy place. Does no one else see what's happening? Does nobody else in that galaxy go, whoa, what's going on here? What?
Maybe it's the New York of the Star Wars galaxy. Like, don't get mugged on the street. Somebody gonna just walk around you.
Yes, exactly. And I did have that thought the other day. Like, do these other ships not see what just happened? Like,
yeah,
I guess they didn't, but
Yep. And also the other thing I was thinking is like, geez, they're blowing up a lot of people trying to get to that Jedi. I mean, like, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a PR issue, like, when this is all over.
Yeah.
Like, you blew up my office,
Exactly.
Yeah. It's one of those things, I guess if you want to like get into the mindset, they're hunting the Jedi who've just been announced as the enemy of the Republic. By the Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
So, but I did think, so the interesting thing here is they get to the end of the chase, they crash the bike on this landing pad, and there's say a Naboo ship, like the one that Anakin and Padme took in Attack of the Clones. So it's probably a senator's ship.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I got distracted by Rose comment, and then another amazing moment with the ship. Naboo ship, sorry.
So the Naboo ship, and this is what I was talking about when I said that, there's a really good theory out there that so someone from Naboo has made an effort here to get some of the Jedi off world using their ship. The Naboo security guards. So the senator from Naboo at this time, there's two. It's Padme and
I think you found your cat.
Padme, who we know didn't know about the plot before it happens. wouldn't have planned this. The other is Jar Jar Binks.
And a lot of people think it's Jar Jar because that would tie in perfectly with Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fun little nod that right now I would say it's most likely Jar Jar Binks that had a plot to get Jedi off Coruscant.
Yeah.
When did they find out?
When did they find out what?
When did the Empire find out? We were talking about Grogu.
Oh, yes. Good
So,
question.
like, how long have they been looking for him? How long have they been? I mean, have they spent the past 50 years looking for this kid? That's
Well, I mean, I think the indication is that he was in their possession at some point in time.
Yeah, that's what, because Nick said he thought that the Imperials were going to be the one who were going to.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to be captured, by the Imperials.
Which does actually, which did kind of make me think that I kind of wondered if part of the reason that they weren't trying to get him out was because, like, obviously he's a Jedi and so and an innocent, so they're trying to save him, but also it does seem like the Emperor has a specific interest in him. And so if part of that might not have been specifically to save him, to keep him out of the Emperor's hands, because the Emperor specifically wanted him.
Because at this point,
especially because he couldn't get Yoda. Yaddle's already gone. So if there's some specific virtue for these of the species, this is his option.
Yeah. Well, the darker possibility about who got them off Coruscant is that it's Palpatine.
Yeah. I mean, that would totally be
that he set up a way to get Grogu out. So that
would be a very stereotypical move, right? Because playing both sides. Because I mean, you're like, well, why would he send his soldiers to try and kill him? Because like he's been sending soldiers to kill each other for a really long time, and we're playing the both sides game. So, but I thought it was really interesting how they kind of framed that flashback, because they've got the lights and the lights and the lights, and it's really interesting because that's how trauma memories work. They're triggered, and also that they tend to play out like in real time. There's some really interesting like studies on certain kinds of trauma, especially early childhood trauma, that basically it's like it's not like a regular memory where you kind of have like bits of it. It's like the whole thing. So I think that was a pretty well thought out sequence there. Poor baby.
So yeah, I mean, the Mandalorian is given this whole spiel about, before he kind of goes into the flashback, about what it is to be a Mandalorian, and about the forging of the Beskar. And I do think that, given how much Old Testament we've had so far, I do think this is a very intentional call towards the book of Malachi 3, talking about the refiner's fire.
Right. And because when the armor was talking, there are a couple of things that I thought what you were just talking about. I also thought about, about the iron sharpening one, the iron. And then I'd seen a mention about the story of the three metals, and that kind of also makes sense. Like, yeah,
Plato's three metals.
Three metals, yes. And I just thought, well, why couldn't it be all of it? Maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe they were just going like just general enough, but at the same time that who it is based off perspective could just take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Maybe they meant all three.
I'm really I love the fact that they're building this this sort of religious backdrop to this. Like, when Lucas created the original trilogies, one of his stated purposes was to make young people interested in spiritual things. And I think that even though that's not really where this show started off, it's definitely where it's headed, and where it's dove deep this season in particular, I mean, even having passages from Exodus
Texts, yeah.
found on Mandalore. So I think there's some really, really interesting religious things we have going on. And I think we have some interesting things. They're not quite as fleshed out yet going on with Bo-Katan that we'll talk about at the end. So we end the flashback scene with Grogu getting his rondel, his Beskar rondel, which is really cool in a couple of ways. And one, just to me, it stands out because I don't think we've ever seen a rondel on Mandalorian armor before. So like the rondel is like it's worn on a harness and it covers this part, like the joint in the armor protects like the armpit area from the front, so that you can't be stabbed between your shoulder piece and your chest piece.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've ever actually seen those on any Mandalorian armor, which I thought was neat.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I want to go back real quick for half
Sure.
a second.
Yeah.
And I want to mention, because I feel like this was my favorite quote of this episode. And this is right at that tip end of the flashback. And I was trying to look it up as fast as I could. And that is when the armor says, and again, going back with the three metals and things, you know, this is the forge, is the heart of the Mandalorian culture. Just as we shape the Mandalorian steel, we shape ourselves.
Yeah.
We begin as raw ore. We refine ourselves through trials and adversity. The forge can reveal weaknesses. I mean, really, for the most part, up until the last sentence, is very encouraging and just so wise and so wonderful. And again, this is why I'm like, okay, I can see the leadership in her, but like you were saying earlier, now it makes total sense. She is more like a priestess. She is more spiritual, and that is where she shines. The armor does, because she really does have a lot of wisdom.
Sorry, there's a tornado watch apparently.
Oh, only a tornado watch. I mean, I got Alpha. I have the Wicked Witch right next to me, so I think you're okay.
Yeah.
I got Alfie with us, so we're good, right?
It doesn't look like tornado weather out there. The sky's not green. It'll be fine.
Well, keep me posted, and if all of a sudden I see a cow going through your room, I'll just know.
Then you'll know.
And then I'm gonna look at Alfie and go, I thought you weren't gonna do that. Good powers from here.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only completely interior room in our house is the bathroom. So every time there's a tornado watch, we all pile up in the bathroom. It's great.
And I just put on the Wizard of Oz and go, okay, let's go. Exactly.
Okay, sorry about that. That was a little bit loud.
All right, so moving forward, let's jump forward to the Mandalorians on the hunt for the raptor.
Yes.
I thought this was cool. There are two things in this scene, this part of the show, that I think were overlooked somewhere along the way. One, we got to the place and we're going to stop and camp and wait for daylight. I know that they wanted to have the moment of where we get a little bit of Mandalorian etiquette with the helmets.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thought. I was like, okay, so why didn't Bo-Katan just radio back and be like, it's right here, beep, 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 and just go like, I feel like it works fine. It works well. There's Andrew's storm alert. I feel like it works well, like story. It makes for an interesting story, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in universe. It's like, why did they just sort of,
well, other than that, we do a lot of sort of campy, we kind of, so this is a Western trope, right? Like we ride to this place and then we're gonna make camp and we'll attack at dawn, and it's like, so I kind of felt like it was just kind of a throwback to the Western, but it was
galactic Western.
Galactic Western.
Technically a galactic opera in Western.
Western opera.
Yes.
Cowboys.
But yeah, I know that they wanted the scene so they could have the answer the question about the helmet. Like, how do you eat with this thing on?
Right.
Like, so
Yeah, I feel like they were not in a very big hurry, considering that the space dragon was trying to eat the kid.
right.
Like,
It
it's not going to wait
regurgitated.
till dawn. Does it only eat during daylight hours?
And it did regurgitate, just like a mother bird would do. A mother bird does the same thing. However, the only thing I felt that was needed for this episode, if you're going to do it all the way. That kid was too dry.
Too dry. That was my other nitpick was he should have come out covered in something.
Right. And I know as gross as that was, but if you're going to do it all the way and own up to it, because beyond that, I mean, that is my only nitpick probably for this, and everything else I was like, whatever.
Exactly. There wasn't nearly as much urgency as I would expect for there to be in that dire of a situation.
Although if we go spiritual, I mean, there is Jonah and the whale. I mean, and if we want to go Disney, Walt Disney, we have Pinocchio and we have Geppetto.
Yeah. Right.
No sticky people.
So I would say both those things are nitpicks for me, but I felt like we could have placed the eating scene somewhere else.
I mean, I think it's a really fair continuity issue, just as far as in the same way that it's like, now how did Obi-Wan get from there to there in 30 seconds? It's just not feasible. I don't care.
Oh, in the Obi-Wan series where he comes around the corner, yeah,
it's like, I understand it's a cool shot, but you gotta, all these things have to fit together,
right?
And I'm sure the continuity person is just pulling their hair out because they're like, it but it will be cool. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, though. That scene, we could have done that scene where we answer the question about the helmet somewhere else, and been okay there. But otherwise, once we actually start the assault on the nest, we get a really, really great action sequence. The flying, the Mandalorians flying has all looked really, really good all season, which, of course, that's Favreau, pulling in what he learned doing Iron Man.
Yes.
Back in the very first episode, we got this awesome, almost like GoPro shot, over the shoulder, looking back at an explosion of a flying Mandalorian. It's like they're doing a really, really good job with all that stuff. I thought it all looked fantastic. Everybody plays their role in taking this thing down. We start this off with getting the drop that this is Paz Vizsla's child.
Yes.
Now we don't know. We're not told, is this a blood child or a foundling? But
I did have questions about that in the Red 5 chat, and I have questions.
Well, I mean, the thing is there. I mean, it could be either one, but I think the point is it doesn't matter. That this is his child. It doesn't matter if it's by blood or if it's his foundling. I think that it's
my grandparents don't consider the adopted kid to be any different than the others. So I think that's it. They referred to him as a foundling, so I really think the only kind of issue there is it raises the question if that's just how they consider all of their children, rather than right. If they consider all of their children foundlings, whether they are adopted in or whether they're born in.
Yeah, foundling almost seems like a rank within the community.
It's all like they're younglings.
Yeah.
Which is interesting if that's the way that their culture has sort of pivoted, where they don't consider, because in most of these kinds of societies, heredity is very important, who your blood comes from. So if we're pointing out that even biological children are considered foundlings, that's an interesting dynamic, I think.
Yeah. But did y'all have any other thoughts on the scene, the fight between the creatures? Of course, the Jurassic Park moment with the alligator turtle creature eating the raptor is
Oh,
just
wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's-
although what I did like was what happened next, and that's once they get back and we have 3 more foundlings for you.
Yeah.
Because my heart didn't have a moment where I was just like, but that was the mama.
Mhm.
Why are we going? I don't even want to say the word Disney, but what? Why the mom? But then I was glad that they took them in. You know, they were going to take care of them. You know, because part of me was wondering, were they going to hurt the mama, or were they going to let her go?
Right.
And again.
So now we have space Bambies. We're all gonna have a complex.
Yeah. See?
But I really enjoyed the whole fight. The fight just looks amazing. I enjoyed all that. But I think I've seen a lot of claim that this doesn't do anything to move the story forward, especially Mando's story. But there is a really critical thing that happens because of this fight, is that the one Mandalorian in the covert that wasn't real sold on Bo-Katan and Din Djarin being there was Paz Vizsla. Paz Vizsla had problems with Mandalorian in season 1 because he was working for the Empire. He had problems with him, really, I guess, in Book of Boba Fett, where they duel for the Darksaber because Din Djarin doesn't deserve to wield it. And so we get this moment where, you know, in the last episode, he's the only one that's not happy about them being there. We get this moment where they have done a lot to earn his respect.
Right.
And again, that's where I said I think we're beginning to put all the pieces together to do what this show is about, is the restoration of Mandalore. And it's not about carving out different groups. And that's the thing. Any of these groups of Mandalorians could potentially play the role of antagonist. Bo-Katan could have been the antagonist. She's been one before. The Armorer could have played the role of antagonist. Still could.
Yes.
But it's interesting to see. And that's where we get into this last scene. I think the scene between Bo-Katan and the Armorer, just story-wise, is the most interesting scene in the whole episode.
Got him right here.
What did y'all think about that scene? Nicole, I'll let you start.
One, kudos to Bo-Katan to have to let it go. Finally say something.
Yeah.
And part of me still wondering, though, like, does the Armor believe her? Like, does she fully believe her? Or does she just think she's just saying to say it? Or is it because she thinks that she's, yeah, you saw it, but like you saw it in your dreams kind of thing?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where that's going to go next week. Although I'm surprised that Bo-Katan said it to the Armorer first, because she knows her less, versus Din Djarin. Now, or because even though we might think of the Armorer, as you said, as a priestess, was that a power move?
Yeah, it could have been, but it's also like, if you're going to go talk to someone and you don't really want to talk to everyone about the mythosaur, this priestess that believes, she's a true believer. And I really think that's the answer, especially again, you know, kind of going back to the Old Testament again. I think that what we got was the Armorer tells her, you know, she kind of gives her vague answers. And I have seen some really funny memes made with the answers where it's like, you know, the Armorer is like, okay, grandma, whatever you say. And it's like, but the thing is the Armorer believes, and the Armorer believes in the prophecies. The Armorer wouldn't be shocked at the fulfilling of the prophecy. So when she says this is the way, she says, when you when you follow the ways of the Mandalore, you will see a great many things. And the first thing I thought about was Isaiah 42:20, where there's this whole verse. The short version here is, "You've seen many things, but you do not observe them." It's you've seen it, you just have to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because Bo-Katan is still questioning it. I think that's why she tells the armor, because she's still not totally sold on what she saw herself.
Or what it means.
And
I think she's looking for some kind of I think she's looking for some kind of help, some kind of guidance, some sort of explanation.
Right. Because does the mythosaur only show up to those who believe or who are meant to be the true leader? Or mythosaur's real and they're gonna I was still waiting for that moment when that mythosaur would all of a sudden come alive. I was waiting for it. I'm like, oh, and
yeah, I thought it was gonna chase them.
Me too.
The whole thing.
Me too.
Yeah, I just looked at him. I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. And also, I didn't realize mythosaurs were aquatic, or at least.
Well, we knew it was a mythosaur lair. It was the pool beneath the city. So I guess we should have assumed they're at least
semi-aquatic.
Yeah.
So.
But if it's already gone, then it's just there in the water. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
But I absolutely love that scene. I think that scene opens up so many possibilities for how we're going to go. And does the armorer believe? Is she refusing to acknowledge what Bo-Katan, that Bo-Katan is the one that has seen the mythosaur? Or is she just totally unfazed?
I mean, that's what it reads to me. But also it seems like she's not going to jump on board until Bo-Katan knows what she thinks about it. It's just sort of stuff happens. Now, what are you going to do with it? You're like, she's not giving her any of the placations, any of the answers that she's looking for. She's just like, yep. When you follow the rules, things work out or things happen, but she doesn't give her any kind of answer. And I think that's intentional because I think she is giving her the opportunity to do something with it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's kind of the question. I guess the question that's to be answered is, what will Bo-Katan do with what she's seen and what she knows?
Hopefully we'll find out
before
the end of the season. They do seem to do pretty good about tying things up in a season. It's not like we're going to drag,
they'll answer some of the questions.
Right. Well, because we're getting some answers now that we are having from season 2 and season 1. Just in the last episode or two. So
yeah,
great. They're definitely tying things just at a different pace than we're expecting.
And that's the thing. It's
we say in Filoni we trust. It's just kind of like saying, God, we trust, and then also we turn our backs.
Well, they're tying things up at a Dave Filoni pace. This is how Dave Filoni tells stories.
Which is exactly whenever he decides he's in the mood to do
it.
Well, he tells it when it's beneficial to his story. When there comes a point where it's beneficial for him to answer a question that he posed earlier, he'll answer it.
Technically, wouldn't this be in Jon Favreau since he wrote most of these?
So I think that they've worked very closely on these because I've seen a lot of Jon Favreau stuff, and the slow burn is not really Jon Favreau's style. So I think that Filoni is playing a pretty heavy role in how they shape the stories. It feels, there are things about it that feel very Jon Favreau. But I think that Dave Filoni is playing a pretty big role here.
Yeah.
In how the story is being presented. So I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to see where we're going next. Based on the trailer, even going all the way back to Star Wars Celebration last year, when I first got that look at that trailer, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff coming. And I think we're starting the downhill run now. So with the last 4 episodes, so we're going to get a lot of action, and we should get a reveal of a villain.
Get in, run.
And
Although I think Thrawn won't happen until the final episode.
Oh, I think so too.
I think it'll be just like how we had Moff Gideon at the end of the season 1. I think that's what we might be getting again.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they won't wait until the last just because they did the same thing with Moff Gideon. Maybe they'll change it up. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get somebody. I think it's going to be Thrawn. It could be live action Sabine, Hera, any other number of those characters that are coming. So we'll just have to see where we're going. But Nicole, I know you've got to get out of here and go get ready to head over to the tavern.
I know.
So what y'all got going on tonight at the Red 5 Tavern?
Oh, well, we are going by Dungeon Master Tom tonight at the Red 5 Tavern. We actually going to have a new character playing by Rogue One Radio's Steve. So I'm excited to see that. I will be there, of course, myself as Kira. So I'm excited tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be kicking off in 45 minutes at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And that's at the Red 5 Tavern. Find on YouTube, Twitter, all the fun times.
All the places.
Yep.
All the places.
All right. Well, before we go, let everybody know where they can find you online and anything else you got going on.
You got it. All right. Well, I'm Nicole. On Twitter, Instagram, I am Peace, Love, Fandoms. I was about to say Star Wars, but that I changed over I don't know how many months ago. So I'm Peace Love Fandoms, but you can also find me on Facebook, part of Peace Love Disney, on that Facebook page as well. I am part of Used and Abused. I am the third co-host of them, and I'm so excited because it's Tuesday nights, and we're talking about a lot of things, not just Star Wars, but we're also talking about music and movies and just whatever nerdy stuff we decide we want to make nerdy and have fun about. So you can find us there on Tuesday nights. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, all that good jazz. So
perfect. All the places.
Awesome.
All
Marisha,
places.
is there
All places.
anything?
Find me at any of the places.
You can't find you. You could just find Marisha right here, sitting in this chair. All right. So you can find me running the Twitter account for this show at crew_podcast. That's CRU_podcast. You can also find us at sci_fictionary, which is what I left up on the screen for some reason. This is all part of the sciencefictionary.com. So you can find all of our stuff over there at the website. You can also drop us a line at the sciencefictionary@gmail.com or find our podcast or any of the rest of the Red 5 podcast family at Red 5 Network on Twitter. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. We will see you next time. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.